Hello and welcome. You're watching Market Cafe with me, Ankita Saxena, and with me is Snehisha. And this is the show where we get you a roundup of what happened in the global markets and what is about to move the markets for India. But first up, Wall Street did see a big number, CPI US number, come out yesterday, and that was a bit of a relief for the sore eyes. Tell us what happened yesterday. Bit of a breather coming in there for the Wall Street yesterday.
Slight bit of a breather coming there for the Wall Street, Ankita. Good morning to you and wishing our viewers a very good morning. Let's see what the US markets did after the CPI numbers came out. And the US stock futures edged up on Thursday night as traders mulled over July's consumer inflation report and looked ahead to the wholesale price data. Now, futures linked to the Dow, the S&P rose 0.1%, while the futures linked to the Nasdaq 100 rose 0.2%. The nominal gains coming there for the futures. On the other hand, July's consumer price index indicated prices rising by 3.2% on an annual basis, which was lower than the 3.3% which was forecasted by economists as per Dow Jones. However, the core CPI that excludes volatile food and energy costs rose 4.7% from the prior year. Initial jobless claims also rose more than expected last week, and during Thursday's main trading session, the averages not small gains but were far off sessions highs. All three indices clocked marginal gains to close 0.1% in the green, so nominal gains coming there. And on a weekly basis, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq are bound for declines of 0.2% and 1.2% respectively, and both are on pace for their second straight losing week, which is a first for the Nasdaq coming in since the conclusion of a 4-week losing streak in December of 2022. Now, the Dow is an outlier of the three major averages, on track for modest gains of 0.3%, and investors will also be keeping an eye on more economic data which will come out on Friday, which is July's producer price index data and the preliminary consumer sentiment data. Let's shift focus to Europe then, and European markets closed higher on Thursday as investors digested a fresh round of corporate earnings and the key US inflation print. Now, the Pan-European Stock 600 index ended the sessions with a gains of 0.8%, with household goods adding 2.2% to lead gains on the back of strong earnings. Mining stocks meanwhile slid almost 1%. So positive handover largely coming in from the US as well as the European markets. US inflation number slightly lower than what was expected, which is why the US markets have ended nominally in the green, Ankita.
That's correct, Snehi, and we did see the impact on the oil prices as well. The oil prices also ticked down lower, holding close to January highs though, as speculation about another US interest rate hikes is of course fading with the number that came out yesterday, and the OPEC remaining positive on the oil demand outlook. Both benchmarks have been on a sustained rally since the month of June, with WTI crude trading on Thursday at its highest since this year, and Brent hitting its highest price since January. Brent crude fell $1.15 or 1.3%, and it's currently trading at $86.58 a barrel, and WTI settled down $1.58 a barrel or 1.9%, currently trading at $83.04 a barrel. Now, the interesting thing to note here are the gold prices. Gold prices, gold has been rallying for quite some time now. Now, gold prices ticked up yesterday also after data showed that US consumer prices have increased moderately in July, and cementing the expectations that the Federal Reserve is probably at the end of its rate hiking cycle. And the looming recessionary fears, which really prompts people to park their money with gold, which is a safer haven. Spot gold was up 0.1% at $1,915 per ounce after rising as much as 0.8% following the release of the US data. The gold prices are on track to rally to all-time highs in 2024 is what the analysts believe, on the back of tapering interest rates, and that could actually happen as early as the end of 2023. That's what the analysts believe, that gold could hit an all-time high. So we better start parking our money in gold.
Absolutely.
Now.
And jewelry is always a good thing to
Absolutely.
own, right? Absolutely. It hedges against inflation as well. So with that, let's also look at all the important cues that you need to be tracking. And you've got some important data coming today, and that's the India industrial production, US PPI, UK industrial production, UK GDP, as well as China FDI data. All of this is coming today, so keep an eye out for these numbers. On the global earnings front, you've got Wilmar and Siemens that will be reporting their quarterly numbers. On the India Inc. front, from the Nifty fact, you've got Apollo Hospitals as well as ONGC that will be declaring their Q1 numbers today. And From the broader markets, then you've got a slew of companies that will be declaring their Q1 numbers. Let me take you through that list. It's Info Edge, Raymond, Jindal Saw, Glenmark Pharma, Voltas, Jindal Steel and Power, Godrej Industries, Muthoot Finance, Nykaa, National Aluminium, City Union Bank, as well as Ruchi Soya. So a lot of these companies declaring their Q1 numbers today. Keep an eye out for these results. On the corporate action front, then you've got the board of Hindustan Foods will meet today to mull fundraising today. Surya Roshni will be mulling subdivision of equity shares, and the board of Power Finance Corp, that's PFC, will mull bonus issue and dividend today. So important cues to track for Friday, as well as a lot of data and a lot of earnings coming today, Ankita.
That's right, Snehi. But the biggest cue for the markets this morning is the US July inflation print, which has yet again showed signs of cooling off. Now, consumer prices rose 3.2% in July. Prices accelerated a seasonally adjusted 0.2% for the month, in line with the Dow Jones estimate. The markets were seen reacting to the figures positively. Of course, this isn't, mission accomplished yet. However, the figures paved the way for the Federal Reserve to finally stop hiking the rates very soon.
Absolutely, and with that, let's shift focus to Europe then. And supply disruption fears are pushing gas prices higher, and European gas prices jumped nearly 40% after the news of a potential LNG facility strike at major plants in Australia as workers campaign for higher pay and improved job security. Meanwhile, analysts expect this bullish momentum in the natural gas prices to continue for the coming months.
And shifting focus to some global earnings then, Chinese e-commerce giant Alibaba reported its Q1 earnings, a 14% revenue growth, which is the biggest annual increase in sales since the month of September 2021 quarter. The company's push into overseas markets also aided the results, with revenue from international commerce retail surging as much as 60% on a year-on-year basis.
On to some other news then. Reports suggest that retail giant Amazon has begun shelving private clothing brands in a bid to cut costs and address antitrust scrutiny. The company has decided to eliminate as many as 27 out of its 30 in-house labels, leaving it with just Amazon Essentials, Amazon Collection and Amazon Aware.
And US forecaster predicts 95% chance of El Nino conditions prevailing through the winter months. The Climate Prediction Center's latest outlook was a slight upgrade from month of July. Given recent developments, forecasters are more confident in a strong El Nino event, with roughly 2 in 3 odds of temperatures rising by about 1.5 degrees Celsius or more in November to January.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi turned the tables on the opposition in a 2-hour speech yesterday that covered history, economics, politics and even a bit of fortune-telling. He said the country had no confidence in Congress. He would return to power for a third term and was even heard giving tips to share market investors. What to make of these developments in the parliament? Listen in from Modi himself.
ये वो लोग हैं जिन्हें देश के सामर्थ्य पर विश्वास नहीं। इन लोगों को देश के परिश्रम पर विश्वास नहीं है, देश के पराक्रम पर विश्वास नहीं है। कुछ दिन पहले मैंने कहा था कि हमारी सरकार के अगले टर्म में तीसरे टर्म में भारत दुनिया की तीसरी टॉप अर्थव्यवस्था बनेगा।
And while replying to the debate on a no confidence motion in Lok Sabha, PM Narendra Modi said in jest that stock market investors should invest in PSUs such as HAL, LIC, which were criticized by the opposition in the past. Listen into what he had to say.
आज HAL देश की आन बान शान बन के उठ रहा है। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, जिसका बुरा चाहते हैं वो कैसे आगे बढ़ता है, मैं तीसरा उदाहरण देता हूं। आप जानते हैं LIC के लिए क्या क्या कहा गया था? LIC बर्बाद हो गई, गरीबों के पैसे डूब रहे हैं। गरीब कहां जाएगा? बेचारे ने बड़ी मेहनत से LIC में पैसा डाला है। क्या कहें, जितनी उनकी कल्पना शक्ति थी, जितने उनके दरबारियों ने कागज पकड़ा दिए थे, सारे बोल लेते थे वो, सारे बोल लेते थे। लेकिन आज LIC लगातार मजबूत हो रही है। शेयर मार्केट में रुचि रखने वाले को भी ये गुरु मंत्र है कि जो सरकारी कंपनियों को ये लोग गाली देना, आप उसमें दांव लगा दीजिए साहब, अच्छा ही होने वाला है।
All right, and that's the word coming in from PM Modi himself. But let's shift focus then. And the Reserve Bank of India made several major announcements during the monetary policy meet yesterday, which are expected to provide further boost to India's UPI payments. My colleague Vikram Oza is here with further details on this. Vikram?
So amidst other major announcements at the Monetary Policy Review meeting today, the Reserve Bank of India has made several major announcements that are expected to provide further boost to India's UPI payments. Firstly, the RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das has announced that soon users are going to be able to launch conversational payments on UPI. So now users could soon engage in AI-powered systems to carry out their UPI transactions. And under this chatty avatar, payments will be processed during a message conversation between the chat operator and the payment provider. According to the RBI, the AI-powered feature is going to be made available both in smartphones as well as feature phones. And while this facility will be available in only Hindi and English initially, the RBI has said that more languages are going to be added soon. The move is expected to further boost digital penetration in India. The second major announcement, of course, of the day was the increase in transaction limits for UPI Lite. The central bank has now hiked the limit for small value digital payments. From what was 200 rupees, it has been hiked to 500 rupees a transaction. But the central bank has kept the overall limit at 2,000 rupees just to be able to contain risks. The RBI is also looking at promoting the use of UPI Lite. It has proposed the use of NFC, near-field communication technology, to facilitate offline UPI transactions. Remember, the NFC is a short-range wireless technology. It is used for transferring information between devices quickly. The use of NFC technology is going to enable retail digital payments even in areas that have weak internet or telecom connectivity. It's also going to speed up transactions. It will also cut down the rate of decline in transactions because of these connectivity issues. While the RBI's announcement does signal this greater embrace of new age technologies, several public and private banks are already using, or at least are planning to use, artificial intelligence and other technologies to enhance customer services. While a lot of banks are using AI as chatbots, of course, banks are also partnering with fintechs. Currently, HDFC Bank uses the chatbot Eva to provide customers and non-customers information about its banking services. SBI recently said in its FY23 annual report that it will enhance the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning in decision-making as well as the bank's operations. Axis Bank as well, now looking to use ChatGPT for enhancing their communication services. So yes, our UPI facility is undergoing big technological changes.
All right, with that, it's time for us to slip into a short break. You don't go anywhere. After the break, we go domestic. Welcome back. You're watching Market Cafe. It is that time of the show where we get you all the news on the domestic front. But before that, let's quickly go across and see how the Asian markets have opened up. Asian markets, of course, taking a cue from the US markets, are up, have opened up after the inflation in the US came in lower than expected, raising hopes that markets could see a soft landing in the inflation fight. Of course, the Japanese markets will be shut today on the back of a public holiday. But Hang Seng is very, very flat right now, has slipped into the red. It's down just 3 points, very close to the flat line, absolutely flat. Can we just go across to Shanghai as well? Shanghai is also very, very flat, has slipped into the red. It's down just 9 points, very flat. And so is GIFT Nifty actually. It is in the green, but absolutely as flat as a pancake, just up 6 points. ASX 200 also absolutely flat. It's almost like the markets are poised, waiting and watching for how, the scenario really plays out. And ASX 200 is just down 3 points, very, very flat. Let's quickly go across to Kospi then. Kospi is up actually. It's up marginally up, just 2 points. Absolutely flat all across Asian markets has opened up absolutely flat. Was in the green. Has taken the positive cue from the US and the European markets, hinting towards a positive start for the Indian markets, but a more tempered one.
Absolutely. Hi there, welcome back and thanks for staying tuned with us on Market Cafe. This is ED Now. Let's get a move on with the show then, and on the political front, talking on day 3 of the non-confidence motion, Finance Minister Sitharaman pointed out that back in 2013, Morgan Stanley had labelled India as one of the 5 most fragile economies in the world, and now the same rating agency has upgraded India and given it a higher rating. Let's listen in to what the Finance Minister had to say.
So, India is in a rare position, sir, of being optimistic and positive for its future growth. 2013 India was declared as a fragile economy. उसी मॉर्गन स्टैनली आज भारत को अपग्रेड करते हैं. And we believe in empowering all and appeasement of none.
And well, we have my colleague Sameer Dikshit with a round of the inflation discussion in Parliament. Take it away, Sameer.
Inflation is one of the big issues that is really hitting the government, and now government has also come into action mode. Earlier, the government announced to sell additional 50 lakh ton of wheat and 25 lakh ton of rice in the open market. And now regarding the tomato, government has taken a major decision to allow imports of tomato from Nepal. Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced in the Parliament that tomatoes are going to be imported from the neighboring country Nepal, and the first consignment is likely to reach the northern cities of India like Varanasi, Lucknow and Kanpur by Friday, and more such consignments will be imported. Not just this, the government also anticipates that the fresh harvest of tomato will come in the market by next month, and this all steps will help to cool down the prices of tomato. Currently in the retail market, the prices of tomato per kg is somewhere around rupees 150, ranging up to rupees 200. But government understand that with the fresh harvest and with the imports, these prices will cool off, will come down to around rupees 100 or below by next month, and then further cooling of prices will take place. Not just this, the government is also likely to take some steps regarding the pulses. Some import decision might be taken. Overall, the government anticipates that usually post-August, the prices cools off with the fresh harvest coming in the market, but the traders, as of now, they anticipate that this tight situation, the inflation is likely to remain there till October, and then some cooling of prices will take place.
And the big news yesterday then, in a big boost to Z, the NCLT has cleared the merger with Sony and dismissed all objections. My colleague Ankur is joining it with a roundup of all the details about this merger. Ankur, take it away.
Yes, one word order from court this time that the merger is approved. And another thing which was mentioned, that all the objections which were raised against the merger has been dismissed. So all in all, it is complete approval on the merger. There were several objections, if you would recall, that in the likes of Axis Finance, JC Flowers and other creditors had raised the objections in the court, saying that their dues are not paid and hence the merger should not be approved. There were also questions about the design of the deal, why the payment is being made in Mauritius, and that was done allegedly to avoid those payments. But the contention of the company was that this is a group company whose payments were remaining, and hence you cannot be even liable for payment because you are not even creditors. So these were the contentions which was given by the council earlier in the court, and hence at least this oral order is concerned, all these contentions have been accepted, and finally this merger is a done deal as of now. However, the legal tangle still remains, because you would recall that SEBI final order against the promoters of Zee Entertainment is still remaining. That is still to be heard. In fact, Puneet Goenka and Subhash Goenka is supposed to appear before SEBI, and after that the final order will come, and a separate case in that matter is continuing in Securities Appellate Tribunal. And another point to note here is that whether or not all these entities who were opposing the deal, they moved to higher court.
Strong approval, because it kind of dismisses everything, the claims that the creditors were making. It also has got no subject in terms of any condition to it. And I think we continue to believe that the SEBI SAT issue, which is ongoing right now with the Goenka family, it's a separate matter altogether. That is primarily to do with Mr. Puneet Goenka being on the board of the company, or being as a KMP of the company or not, and this is a separate issue altogether. And it's clearly mentioned that Mr. Goenka also has stepped on the sidelines. He's moved out of the board. He's moved away from the day-to-day operations. And whatever outcome of the SEBI SAT would come in, it would not have any kind of an impact in terms of the NCLT order or for the merger to go through.
And well, the big Maharaja of the skies gets a mega makeover. Tata Group-owned Air India unveiled its new look, and Air India CEO said that the logo signifies limitless possibilities and confidence. Meanwhile, talking at the event, N. Chandrasekharan said that for the Tata Group, Air India is a passion and big national mission. Listen in to what he had to say.
New Air India, the vision we have for the airline is also in the backdrop of a new resurgent India, where the aspirations of everyone is limitless. The new logo that you see here today, the Vista, signified by that historically used window. The golden window, the peak of the golden window, signifies limitless possibilities, progressiveness, confidence, and all of that. We have been at work during the last 15 months or so on this journey, because our vision is to make this airline world-class in terms of modernity, safety, technologically most advanced, exceptional in terms of customer service, and an experience that Air India used to be known for.
All right, that's the word coming in from the top boss at Air India. But let's move on then and let's look at earnings. And two-wheeler maker Hero Moto reported a mixed set for the first quarter of the fiscal, wherein margins beat estimates, but the top line and profits missed the mark. What aided the margins update? My colleague Shrishti is joining with the fine print of the numbers.
Well, I would say a mixed set coming in from Hero MotoCorp because the revenue is actually below our estimates while the margins are above, and the profit has come in a little below our estimates because there has been an exceptional expense. So let's talk numbers then. Onto the revenue front, there has been a jump of 5.5% on a sequential basis. The EBITDA has come in line to our estimates, and onto the margin front, there is a thumbs up because we were expecting the margins to be at 13.2%. The company reported 13.8%. On to the bottom line, there is an exceptional expense of 160 crores towards the VRS, and the company reported a net profit of 824 crores versus our expectation of 872 crores. But adjusting to this exceptional expense, their profit zooms over 900 crores, which is actually good. But talking about the internals, then the company too mentions that the underlying EBITDA margin of their ICE business now stands at 14.5%, excluding the impact of the EV business, which the management highlights that it has returned back to the pre-COVID levels. Onto the demand front, the commentary is quite positive. They are optimistic about the demand outlook and especially keeping festive season in view. And onto the premium launches as well, the company says that it's going to be an exciting year in terms of the launches, and we can see slew of premium segment launches by Hero MotoCorp in the upcoming quarters. So those were the highlights of the results of Hero MotoCorp.
Alright, then it's time for a quick breather, but after the break, we get you all the stocks that you need to keep on your radar for today's trading session.
Hi there, welcome back and thanks for staying tuned to Market Cafe. This is ET Now. Now, DLF has entered into a partnership with global health-run Medanta to set up a 400-bed multi-speciality hospital in Delhi. What will it mean for both DLF and Medanta? Ashesha is here to break that down for us. Ashesha?
Well, yes, Medanta reported good set of numbers and also announced this partnership with DLF. First up, let's talk about the numbers, where revenues for the quarter gone by stood at 795 crores, which is an uptick of about 27% on a year-on-year basis. Margins have also expanded this quarter. It has come in at 25.1% versus 22.6% same time last year. Let's also talk about some other internals then. Average revenue per operating bed has grown by about 7.1% on a year-on-year basis, and international business has also seen an uptick of 45% on a year-on-year basis. This was driven by increased volumes as well as increased realizations. Now let's talk about the tie-up with between Medanta and DLF, where Medanta and DLF will be developing 400-bed super speciality or rather multi-speciality hospital in Delhi. This will be a 50-50 joint venture between the two entities, where Medanta will run the hospital and will have operating control over the entity, and DLF will be the strategic investor in this particular partnership that they have announced. Now, this super speciality hospital will provide cutting-edge medical and surgical interventions in over 20 super specialties, and the new facility will also strengthen Medanta's presence in the Delhi NCR region. So yes, strong set of numbers, and on account of this tie-up that the companies have announced, both these counters will be in focus today.
All right, thank you so much for that, Ashesha. But besides those counters that you mentioned, there are other stocks that we will be keeping on our radar, and for that we have Lisa in the studio. Lisa, tell our viewers what are the stocks that we need to watch out for in today's trading session.
Right, good morning. Let's start with HCL Tech. So they have signed an agreement with Verizon, and it's a mega deal with the company as the contract is valued at $2.1 billion and it will be spread over the next 6 years. Now, this comes at a time when the commentaries from IT companies are talking about demand slowdown. So it's a big positive for TCS. Moving on to the earnings, LIC, they have reported a good set of numbers. The PAT increased 14-fold to 9,635 crore versus 603 crore, which was seen last year. Premium, however, that was flat at 98,755 crore. Moving on to metal companies, SAIL, they reported revenue which was kind of muted, 1.4% flat year-on-year basis. The net profit was down 74%, while margin that also saw a contraction of around 281 bips and stood at 6.8%. Moving on to Biocon, the numbers, they were weaker than expected because the revenue was down 9% on a sequential basis. PAT was also down around 67% on sequential basis, stood at 101 crore. And even the margin that saw a contraction to 20.8% versus 26% seen last quarter. Moving on to Apollo Tyres, decent numbers were reported by this counter. Revenue was up 5%. Net profit also saw a good growth of around 124%. Lastly, on the earnings, Torrent Pharma, they also reported a good set of numbers. Revenue was up 12.6%, but margins saw a slight contraction of 16.2% versus 16.5% seen last year. And on the update on block deal of CMS Infosystem, as expected, the promoters and investment, they were the ones behind the sale of around 20% stake in the company, and the buyers were Society General, Nomura, Goldman Sachs were the buyers of CMS Infosystem. So these are the stocks that will be on investors' radar for today.
All right, Lisa, thanks so much for taking us through the list of all those stocks. But other than that, there are also some stocks that brokerages are keeping on their radar this morning. My colleague Vamakshi is standing by to take you through a list of all the stocks that the brokerages are keeping on their radar this morning. Vamakshi, take it away.
Well, yes, a very good morning to you all. Let me first start off with some of the banks. They were in focus yesterday after RBI asked them to maintain a 10% ICRR. And in fact, we have quite a few brokerage notes that have come in on the same. Nomura is highlighting that this could temporarily withdraw nearly 0.7 to 1.1 lakh crore of system liquidity. In fact, this move, in their opinion, translates to nearly 35 to 55 basis points of temporary CRR hike till September 8th. And keep in mind that September 8th is the revision date when they will consider that. Other than that, they believe that this could negatively impact the wholesale finance institutions temporarily, and overall they prefer banks over NBFCs. Morgan Stanley sees limited impact on margins as well as profitability. They have highlighted that the requirement is only temporary for now, and overall they believe that the impact on FY23 earnings is below 1%. Other than that, keep an eye out on Page Industries. Now keep in mind that the counter reported its Q1 earnings yesterday. We have a note coming in from Morgan Stanley. They have highlighted that the Q1 FY24 earnings for the company were a beat. Margins have improved sharply, and that is mainly on account of the cost controls. Volumes were, however, impacted on account of subdued demand, but there is management is appearing to be quite hopeful on the back of some festival recovery that they are expecting to come in. So on the back of that, we have Morgan Stanley maintaining an overweight rating, but nevertheless they've revised their target upwards to 44,738 rupees per share. And lastly, watch out for Grasim. This stock is in focus as Jefferies has highlighted that there was a strong quarter-on-quarter turnaround for VSF. The paints business is also on course for Q4 launch, and in fact the chemical segment's EBITDA is largely stable. So all in all, we have Jefferies maintaining a buy rating, target price of 2,270 rupees per share.
All right, thank you so much for that, Vamakshi. We will be watching out for all the stocks that all those brokerage notes just mentioned. Now, in an update in the HNG, the Hindustan Natural Gas and Industries insolvency case, sources tell ET Now that there is a petition challenging order requiring modification in the CCI's March order. My colleague Anurag Joshi is here with more details on this.
A petition challenging the sale of a glass plant in the insolvency proceedings against Hindustan National Glass is with the Supreme Court. This petition challenges an order requiring the modification in Competition Commission of India's March verdict, and this modification relates to the sale of Hindustan National Glass's Rishikesh plant. This matter relates to the insolvency proceedings against Hindustan National Glass and the takeover proposal of rival AGI Greenpack of HNG. HNG is seeking to buy this company under the insolvency proceedings, and in fact HNG's creditors panel had approved AGI Greenpack's bid by a 98% vote, and this bid of AGI was preferred over rival Independent Sugar Corporation, which is controlled by the Madhvani Group. On February 10th, the CCI had said that the takeover proposal by AGI Greenpack would have an appreciable adverse effect on competition, and subsequently CCI had considered AGI's proposal to divest HNG's plant in Rishikesh. AGI had argued that divesting the HNG plant in Rishikesh would allow it to meet the Competition Commission of India's criteria of being a bidder. And on March 15th, the CCI passed an order based on the modification proposed by AGI, and the modification, of course, requires the divestment of this plant. Now, the workers' union have opposed this plant's sale, and they've challenged AGI's proposal to divest the plant, and have appealed in the Supreme Court against this proposal.
And in major cues to watch out for today, all eyes will be on the ITC AGM, where CMD Sanjeev Puri will lay out the roadmap for future growth and more value unlocking opportunities. Remember, this annual general meeting comes just weeks after the consumption giant announced the demerger of its hotels business. Winnie joins in to tell us what to watch out for from this AGM.
Absolutely, this is the 112th ITC AGM that will be happening today, and obviously there are key highlights. FY23 annual report is already highlighting that the company is saying that they will be, their focus has been on ITC's triple bottom line contribution, which includes one, your normal profits, your economic performance, others social and environmental as well. Let's not forget ITC has been focusing a lot more on the ESG fronts as well. They've been focusing on their ITC Next strategy as well, which includes a vision that they want to build in terms of the future tech, innovation, climate positive, sustainability, inclusive enterprise as well. Other than that, ITC Mars, they had spoken about that also in detail last AGM as well. They'd spoken about the millets, their mission in terms of the millets as well. There are a lot of launches that ITC has made in terms of the millets front as well. A lot of products which include millets and gluten-free products as well. So, they have been focusing on innovation, growing, and the AGM does sometimes have all these detailed information coming out as well. And obviously, the recent announcement in terms of value unlocking in their hotel business, which everyone on the street was waiting out for the longest period of time, that was also an important announcement that was made recently as well. So surely we'll be waiting out for more updates in terms of the AGM. How are they shaping up in terms of more details coming in from there in terms of their ITC Next strategy, ITC Mars, and other details on the ESG front are something to watch out for as well.
All right, Vinny, thank you so much for all those details. And moving on then, Verizon Business has entered into a deal with HCL Tech, making the IT giant a collaborator in all networking developments for global enterprise customers. Now, if we look at the contours of the deal now, it's a mega deal with Verizon, and it is likely to have a positive impact on the revenues over the next 6 years. Now, the deal is set to begin in November 2023, and the total contract value is estimated to be around $2.1 billion over term. Now, this global strategic partnership for managed network services, and it is likely to, like I mentioned, be a big positive for the revenues over the next 6 years.
Absolutely. So with that, HCL Tech will be in focus today, but let's get a move on then. And in another edition of Mega MNC, we spoke to the global market leader in the beverage industry, Coca-Cola, who debunked misconceptions surrounding the alleged cancer-causing properties of aspartame, the road ahead and expansion plans in India. Listen in to an excerpt of that chat.
The ingredient in question is aspartame, which is there in Diet Coke. It does not exist in Coke Zero. Okay. So that's one thing. Aspartame, very interestingly, is one of the world's most researched food ingredient. So these concerns about aspartame is not a new one. Okay. It's been going on for the last 30 years. And across all the continents, most universities and most labs have done extremely detailed researches on this ingredient, and every time it has come out as completely safe. That's one. Secondly, if you actually go through the report of what came out, it doesn't say that aspartame causes cancer.
Okay.
It essentially says that if you have, say, around 15 to 20 products with aspartame in one go, you are in the same risk level as, example, aloe vera,
okay,
or red meat, or going to a barber shop. So if you actually go through the report, you have to get into the details. So absolutely, you should not worry about it. If you like your Diet Coke, like millions around the world do, just go and please continuing to have your Diet Coke.
We're completely out of time on this edition of Market Cafe. Snehi and I will take your leave. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't go anywhere. After this is The Market.